A couple of weeks ago, I decided to make a plywood cutting jig, and I used the design that TimCan The Jig Man came up with. I'll link that in the description below. But it's basically made out of 2x2s, and half of them are at 8 feet long and the other half at 4 feet long. So I cut them to size out of 2x6s. And then sanded all of the parts down. I don't really want these pieces catching on each other when they fold. The holes I decided to drill at 11 inches apart, which I think is different than Tim's design, but allows for an extra slat to support plywood as you're cutting. I then drilled the holes both for the threaded inserts and the bolts, and applied a coat of tung oil, that's exterior grade tung oil, from the Real Milk Paint Company. So I don't really have to worry too much about leaving these lattices, these jigs outside. Here I am installing the threaded inserts, and I'm using these instead of T-nuts just because I really don't like T-nuts. The bolts were a little bit finicky to get in. I actually had to pound them through. I think that will be okay, as the final result did allow everything to move freely and support the plywood that I was cutting. It's pretty tricky to actually get these slats lined up correctly and installed. It took quite a while, and I don't really have any good tips for you other than to be patient and not get too frustrated as the washers fall through and the alignment needs convincing. But once the assembly was done, you could see that it actually works pretty well. I've got it waxed here as well, so there's no friction really stopping this from pulling right apart. And now I'm going to show you what I used it for. I have a project coming up in the next few weeks where I'm going to make some arches for a greenhouse, and the template that I'm going to use for that is 3/4 inch melamine. So I'm going to use this jig to cut it to size. With the jig being waxed, it does have an advantage that the sheets roll on to the jig quite a bit easier than if it wasn't waxed. However, I wonder if thinner sheets of material might move too freely on the jig. I guess we'll find out in time when I cut thinner stock. But as far as a sheet cutting jig go, this thing is awesome. It allows me to cut right through without any obstructions underneath the saw blade. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a success. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the idea, Tim.